Okay. So, what is this question asking me to find? Identify the key parts. Now, where does it tell me what key parts I'm looking for?
Underneath.
The points.
Underneath of it.
Oh.
Right? So, what is it asking when it asks for the rate of change?
The slope.
The slope. So, how do I figure out the slope?
Rise over run.
Rise over run. So which points do I pick to count my rise over run? It does not matter which points you pick. The only criteria is that they have to go through a nice even grid point. Okay? If they don't go through a nice even grid point, then it makes it hard for you to be exact, right?
So they all have different rate of changes?
Nope. The rate of change will be the exact same for no matter which points you pick. So let me show you. So if I pick these 2 points, right, I'm going to start, just like I'm reading the page, I'm going to start over here. So whichever point I hit first is where I'm going to start. And I'm giving directions to get over here. I have to stay on the streets, okay, to get from one house to the other. I can't cut across these other people yards or whatever. Okay, so I'm going to go up 2. That's my rise. Okay, and then I'm going to go over 2. So my run is also 2. So what is 2 divided by 2? What does that reduce? 1. So my rate of change is 1. So if I pick 2 different points, if I pick my x-intercept and my y-intercept, and I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that would be up 6, right? And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So it'd still be 1.
Okay. And 6 over 6 is still equal to 1. So it does not matter which points you pick as long as you pick points that are exactly on the grid so you can count boxes. Does that help? Clarify? What's the next thing that it asked me to find? Uh-huh.
Could it potentially be in the middle of a dot, or would on slope would it never do that? Would it be in the middle of a line? Not in the middle.
Well, you get to pick whatever points you're using to count rise over run. So you're going to want to always pick one that goes through a nice grid point so that you can count whole boxes. So there should always be 2 points that you can use, especially if it's going to be on a test or something. They may even give you 2 points. Say use these 2 points. Okay. So now let's look at what's the next thing it's asking me for?
The B or the y-intercept.
The B. Okay. And that's the y-intercept, right? So what's the y-intercept?
6.
All right. Is that one it?
No, that's X.
That's the x-intercept. Okay, so this one? Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yes.
Okay. I believe
0, 6.
so. It's going to be 0, 6. If Get More Math pops up a box and says it's not in the right format, then it just wants the number. I believe it will take it either way, though. Okay. So for right now, I'm going to keep writing it as an ordered pair just so that you can get that in your head that that's the same thing. Because it could be asked either way. So the x-intercept, what's another word that we call it? The 0. Okay. So the 0 is another word for the x-intercept. So if it's asking you for the 0, what is it asking you for?
The x-intercept.
The x-intercept. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as well there. So it's going to be 6 in front.
Would it be negative 6?
Yeah, -6.
Is it? Let's see. What do you think as a
Yeah,
class?
it's negative because it's on the left side of the.
It is because we went backwards, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we went this way, it would be positive, and backwards is -6. Good catch, guys. So look at problem number 2 there. Find the slope of the equation. What form is this equation in? It's the form we didn't talk about yesterday.
Is it?
This is point slope form.
Isn't that the y1, y2, x1, x2?
It is. So this is, well, yes and no. Because yes, that's in there. It's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. It's when you're given a point and you're given the slope. This is the format that you would use. So if you know that this is the format, where am I going to find my slope at?
It's gonna be the m.
The m.
3.
Okay, so my m is 3. So what's my slope?
3.
And I do believe that in Get More Math, it doesn't want the m equals. It just wants the number. And it'll pop up and tell you that. So number 3. Number 3 says graph negative y minus 5x equals negative 10. What form is this in?
Standard? No,
It's as close to standard as it is to anything, right? What's wrong with it for it to be an actual standard form?
the y is negative? No, the 10's on the other side, the equal side of the y.
Well, for standard form, it's ax plus by equals c. We've got the x and the y mixed up.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But we could use our chimp shortcut, right?
I don't use that, so it always confuses me.
Me too.
Can a chimp blow a bubble, right? Some people use it and find it easier. Some people don't use it, and that's fine. You're more than welcome to rearrange it, which is all that this is doing. It's just doing it the shortcut. Okay. So if I put this in the right order, I would have negative 5x minus y equals negative 10. So the fast way to graph this is to see if my x-intercept and my y-intercept are whole numbers, right? So if I take my c, negative 10, and divide it by my a, which is the number in front of my x, is negative 10 divided by negative 5 a whole number?
Yes.
What's it going to be?
2.
2. So this is my x-intercept. Okay, so my x-intercept is 2. And then this one right here, the second one is the y-intercept. So if I take negative 10 and divide it by negative 1, does that give me a whole number?
Yeah.
What do I get? 10. So my y-intercept is 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's off my graph though. So am I going to be able to use that as my second coordinate? No. So I'm going to have to revert and go to my slope now. So negative a. So a negative, negative 5. Because you have to take the negative a. So we're taking a negative, negative 5, which means what?
Positive.
It's positive, right? So negative, negative just means it's change in signs, positive. Okay, so positive 5 over my b. What's my b? Negative 1. So 5 over negative 1 is negative 5. So my slope, and I'm going to leave it as a fraction. So you could actually have left it positive 5 over negative 1. Either way.
So that's gonna be -5.
So we're counting. We got to use rise over run. So down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 1 is 1 coordinate. So as long as you have 2 coordinates, I get more math will draw your line for you.
Draw the straightest line I can.
That's fine.
Use your journal. Oh wait.
Use the sign of your paper.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm never doing that again.
So problem number 4 says to graph the line. So what's the first thing that we need to graph?
The 01, which is the y.
The 0, 1, which is the y-intercept.
And then it's the slope of -5 over 4.
Okay, and then it's the rise over the run. So I'm going to, from here, am I going to go up or down?
Down.
Down how many?
5
Then what?
over 4.
Positive or negative?
Positive.
Hold up.
Why did we go down -5?
Because the slope right here tells me -5 over 4.
It's -5 y.
-5 is your rise. So your rise does go up and down. Yes, it's how your y's change.
No, I'm trying to talk to you.
The rise is how your y's are changing. And the run is how your x's are changing.
Don't say that one more time. I'm sorry, I'm gonna stop the next person who says it.
So the rise is how your y's change. Okay. And your run is how your x's change.
Are we gonna be able to use this in a test? Or are we practicing?
On your quizzes and your journal, your quizzes and your tests, yes. As of right now, as long as we have virtual students, it will be open journal tests.
Except for you, Nick.
Did it need us to do anything else on that problem?
No, ma'am.
Nope.
Oops, I only got 4. No, I was right.
So what is question number 5 asking you?
What the rate of change is the slope.
The rate of change, that's just the slope. What format is this in?
Standard.
Not standard.
What?
It's in the slope-intercept form. So what is my slope going to be?
Oh god.
1. -1.
-1. It's this number that's in front of my x, and all that's there is a negative sign, right? So m equals
-1.
-1.
I don't know how you just got that because
Because there's not a number by x.
I was still trying to do my line. I'm just copying stuff down.
Okay, so well, she asked what the slope was, and there's nothing beside the x.
If
so
you
it's
have a
just
variable
one.
by itself, it equals 1.
I know how to get the slope, I guess.
You first had to determine which format it's in to know where the slope's at.
I don't know how to do it. I just got that one thing.
It's really not that hard.
It's just a variable.
It's one.
Yeah, yo.
Are we still trying to get that one written down?
Oh, wait. Say negative.
Yeah, -1.
So the next question, number 6, what does it ask us to do?
Graph the following equation.
So the first thing is, what form are we in? It's as close to slope-intercept form as it is to anything, right? What's wrong with it?
There's a fraction.
Fraction.
Nope.
Oh, the x is backwards. The m and the b is backwards.
So y equals mx plus b. We have, these are backwards, right?
Yes, that's.
Okay. You have to know that whatever is paired with the x is your slope. It doesn't matter if you need to rearrange it, rearrange it. Okay, so it's y equals 1/2 x minus 3.
Wait, why do we not have a plus on there?
Because this is a -3, and we don't usually write a plus negative.
Wait, so no matter what kind of like intercept, like the slope intercept step and like okay, that's all. But it's always gonna be y equals mx plus b. Like all.
If that the y is all by itself, then it's usually that form. Sometimes they try to throw you off and put it in point slope form. If there's parentheses in it, it's point slope form.
So we just trying to find the slope?
So would you go halfway through the first?
So now we're trying to graph it.
So you gotta do
Okay, so the slope is what? What's my slope?
1/2.
1/2. And what's my b? What's my y-intercept?
3.
-3. So where am I going to start? Before I can use my slope, I have to first have a point.
Halfway through the first.
No, I'm going to start at -3
Wait, why?
because that's my y-intercept.
But don't you do the x first?
No. You do the point first. We can't count our slope of rise over run without having a starting point. So you have to have a starting point to know where you're giving directions from, right? If somebody asks you in general, okay, where's Ore City? Well, you kind of need to know which direction they're coming from, right? Are they coming from Dangerfield? Then you're going to give them different directions than if they're coming from Tyler, right?
Or Longview.
Or Longview. Or if they're coming from Oklahoma, you're going to give them different directions than if they're coming from New Mexico.
It's gonna be way different directions.
Okay? Or Louisiana. So you have to know where the starting point is before you can give directions. Okay? Does that make sense?
What are
So,
we doing that rise over run?
so now we're going to do rise over run. So what's my rise? Up 1. And then my run is
2.
+2. So I'm going to go up 1, +2, up 1, +2. Okay? Do I need that many dots?
No.
No.
No. How many is the minimum that you need? 2 for a line. Okay? Now when we get to other shapes, you're going to have more than that. But for a line, 2. Get more math, just needs 2 to connect them. Everybody done with that information?
Wait, do we put arrows?
You can. I mean, it keeps going. It's implied if it goes all the way through the graph.
What about these back here?
Again, I don't require you to put arrows on them. To me, it's implied if that you draw it all the way through the graph. Now, you have to put arrows on it if you draw me a little short, skimpy line, because then that looks like it's just a line segment. Does that make sense? So number 7. What is the slope of the following equation?
This is a standard form.
It's in standard form. Well, close to standard form, right?
Oh, they have the X and the Y back.
The X and the Y are backwards again. Okay, they're trying to mix you up. So just rearrange it, or just know that A is always in front of your X. So A is -2, B is always whatever's in front of your Y.
So B equals -5.
And then C is the number that's out here by itself.
C is -5.
Hold on, I gotta rewrite the whole thing. Can you rewrite the whole thing for me?
Okay, so rewrite it. To rearrange it, we would have -2x minus 5y equals -5. So what do I need to, what's the shortcut for the slope when it's in standard form?
I can't, no. Yeah, tangent below bubble.
So what's the slope part of that?
-A over B.
-A over b. Okay. Your intercepts both use c. If you're wanting the x-intercept, you're going to use c and whatever's in front of the x. If you want your y-intercept, you're going to use c and whatever number's in front of your y. The slope is the one that doesn't use the c, so it's -a over b.
-2 over -5, or
So-
-2 over 5, right?
It's a negative -2.
Yeah.
So it's actually a +2, because this means that it's going to change the sign of whatever your A is, it's the opposite.
So then it's 2 over -5.
2 over -5. Can that simplify anymore?
No.
No, that's it. And then what is the last one asking us?
The rate of change of the table.
And so the rate of change is just another way to ask for
Would it be 1 over 5 or
for this one? Well, I don't know, I haven't done it yet. So let's see. So what am I going to do from 3 to 4
+1.
plus 1, from -11 to -16? So it's my change in y's over my change in x. So I've got to put my y difference on top,
So -5 over 1.
which reduces to what?
-5.
You just divide that?
Because it's rise over run,
So M equals
and my rise is however my y's change. So the change in the y's. So how is my y changing from this one to get from one y to the other? What did I have to do? I had to -5. So then on bottom is how does my x's change? So how did if I go this direction on this one, I have to also do that same direction on this one. So from 3 to 4, how did they change? We added 1. So that's where the +1 came from. Are you with me, Haley? You still?
Yeah. Is it the same for 16 as -21?
Okay, I only have to do it for 1, but yeah, so if I figured this out, so -16 to -21, what am I doing? -5.
What if it's a different number?
It doesn't matter. It should reduce to the same. So say if I didn't pick these two numbers right next to each other, because you can pick any combination. Okay, so if I picked 3 and 5, well, what did I do to get from 3 to 5? And what did I do to get from 11 or -11 to -21? So when I do 2 over -10, doesn't it still reduce to, oops, I did it backwards. Negative 10 over 2. Sorry. Doesn't that still reduce to negative 5? So if it gives you a table and you know that it's a line, a linear, all we're dealing with right now is linear, then even if you get different numbers that you're choosing, it should still always reduce down to the same thing.
Is it ever gonna happen where like it's negative 11, negative 16, and like negative 23?
It could, but then whatever, it would always reduce to the same thing. When we're talking about linear stuff, because this one, negative 23 wouldn't follow our pattern in general. So no, that would not be our number. We couldn't have a negative 23. We could skip, this could have been 6 and 26 because that would have still followed the pattern. Even though right here we would have went plus 2 and we would have went plus 10 or minus 10, sorry, and we would have had these numbers and it would have reduced. So don't make it difficult on yourself. If it's a linear, which is all we're dealing with right now, then it's going to be the same pattern. Just pick any two of them and find the slope between them. It doesn't matter if it's different on any other part of the table. Pick two, as long as you're talking about the same two rows when you're working it out, then that's going to give you your slope when you simplify it all the way. Are there any other questions? You may. So for the rest of the class period, you have that slides to finish and ask questions on if you need to. You have get more math points you can work on getting. Tomorrow we will retake the quiz.